Okay, so I'm going to show you a quick, okay, nothing I do is quick. I'm going to show you a how to make your own little Steadicam. I went looking on the internet and I couldn't find what I created. For me, this is the simplest, easiest, most inexpensive DIY handycam, and I'm talking for like a phone or a little teeny camera like this. This is my Canon PowerShot ELPH 300 HS. It's got a little, it's got some threads in the bottom so that you can put one of those little clips on it and put it on a tripod. I was looking for something very simple. Normally what people do is they will attach this to some kind of a post, and then they'll add some kind of a handle that has like a gimbal. It's like a thing where you can hold on to it, but it can still spin and everything. I'll get to that in a second. So, the first thing I did was get an all thread. Now, I'm not exactly sure what size this is. I think it's 1/4 inch. This is from Home Depot. I don't think I even cut it. I think this is the length that I purchased it. They have a little section there and they have different all threads and different lengths. I'm pretty sure this is 1/4 inch. And what I can tell you for sure is this is a 7/16 inch bolt. Just a simple little, a nut, I should say. This is an all thread or a bolt. But it's a 7/16 nut that fits onto this all thread. Whatever it is, whatever all thread fits onto a 7/16 bolt, that's what this is. I think it's 1/4 inch. Okay, so I got an all thread, and it's very simple. You just put the all thread into the bottom of the camera. I'm leaning out over my table. I want to be right up by the camera. I want to be like, I don't know. The way I like to look at videos is to see things up close. I like to see everything up close. Right? But this table, this is killing me right now. Anyway, come back 45 feet away from the camera again so that you can actually, I don't know. So a gimbal basically is one of those things that's, it's got several pieces and parts and everything moves independent, and, well, you don't need a gimbal. Okay, you're not even going to use this anyway, but I still just want you to see what it is I'm doing and why, I suppose. It's one of those little things you sort of toilet. And then I just basically slid it over top. Just kind of drop that down in there. And now I can like hold on to this metal thing and let that spin. And I thought, okay, well, heck, I can do this, but how do I put a handle out here? When I visualized how I wanted to hold this thing, my hand was always kind of open and out like this. So I just decided to put a ball in my hand. This is a racket ball. And I draw a hole in it. Now this still isn't the product. I'm just kind of showing you the process that I went through in figuring it out. So I got this, and I slid, I cut the hole, or drilled the hole with just a regular drill bit, and I slid that on there, and it's nice and snug. And I can put that in there, and of course I can put a nut on this end to keep it from coming out, and put weights on here, and I'm going to show you how I did that. This is a big nut, and I don't know what size it is, but you'll understand in a second. You don't have to know the sizes. If you start with this all thread and the 7/16, well, I don't even know if it's a 7/16 bolt. I know a 7/16 wrench takes off this bolt, and this bolt fits on this all thread. The weight is really everything. I mean, in all the Steadicams, they have these weights, and their weights dependent on the camera because there's this free floating. Forget about all that. The way I added the weight, very simply, is I put a bolt on here so that we can tighten from the bottom and the top. This is just my nut. I keep saying bolts, nuts. Shit. This is going to be the longest video in the world for the simplest thing you've ever seen. I'm sure everybody's fast forwarded at this point. I like the details, so I'm going to show you the details. So put that on there, see how that kind of tightens everything up. Everything's holding together. No, I didn't end up using this, but it was the process, and you'll see. So now I'm going to take another little washer, and this is important because I'm kind of anal about the way things finish. When I say finish, by the way that you see how this already has like a look to it, like it looks halfway professional or something. It's got the little plastic thing up there, which you would think, oh, that's so it's smooth and quiet, and the ball fits on there. Well, then you come down through here, and I'm going to put some weight on here, okay? But I'm going to put this washer up here to kind of finish it off. Now, this is what's kind of cool. The washer that I found, of course, at Home Depot, just your basic washer, happens to fit the head of this nut perfectly. Look at this. Nut, bolt. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. You know what you're looking right at it. Whatever the hell I'm holding, that's a bolt. That's a nut. Fuck! Never mind. Okay, so this washer just happens to be down in the register. Motherfucker. Shit. Okay, I got it. We're going to put the washer in first. Remember, this is the washer that fits perfectly in that big old bolt. I'm going to put a small bolt on here. I don't know what size this is, but it happens to fit perfectly inside of this big bolt. You see what I'm saying? And see how nice that finishes right there, how good that looks. Everything's all closed up and looks nice. And I only doing that to add more weight. You don't have to put the bolt on the inside. It's just a lot of empty space, and the bolts want to, this wants to go back and forth and move around. So I put that down on there. I have several of them. Drop another one down on there. Then I'll put another big bolt on. Then I'll drop another one of these down in there. Remember, we're just filling up the inside space there. Does that make sense? You follow along with me? Yes, I could fast forward all of this, but then you would... Well, hell, then what would you do? Just keep piling them up. Keep piling them up. You see what I'm talking about in there? And it's pretty heavy. And this is exactly what I wanted. Okay. Now that's not coming out. All right. So anyway, this down here, and I was like, oh, I could do that with my other hand. And this ball is a nice... It just feels good in my hand. But because it was rounded, it enabled me to... Never mind, it didn't work. I'm just rambling. I don't know why I can't stop myself. So we've taken this back off. That didn't really work out well, but I did end up with this all thread. Very inexpensive, a couple bolts. You know what's inside of here for the weight. The camera screws on here, and I'm just thinking to myself, okay, now what do I need? Do I need that gimbal thing with all this stuff? And I made a few little thingies, and it just didn't feel right. Look at that. I got to thinking about covering those all threads because I hated the way it looked, and I covered it with this hose. I don't know what size the hose is. I just know that the hose, it's just a plastic vinyl. Hell, I don't know what it is. But it slides over the all thread. Something that simple gives us a lot of options. So after I covered up that all thread with that plastic tubing, I grabbed one of the wrenches that I had tightened these bolts down with, and I said, well, what if I just put that on there for like a handle? Like just to kind of see how that feels. And so I took some more washers. Now these are different size washers. They're a little bit bigger, but it's still just a standard washer. I mean, all you got to do is go in the hardware section and grab a washer, and whatever one kind of snugly pushes on here, well, that's the one. So see if you put them on there. It creates... There's enough friction, and it gave me, this little thing. So I kind of had this little handle on here, and I think, okay, well that was simple, and then I put my camera back on here. Now, believe it or not, we're almost done, but you're not going to really understand how we're almost done until you see it all come together. So now I've got my hand on this wrench, and I'm thinking, okay, this feels kind of good. And I realized my thumb could kind of turn these washers right here, and I could push them up because it's kind of snug. I could get it, any height, right where it's not hitting my fingers or anything. And I thought, okay, so I got my thumb, I can spin that. And I thought, okay, now this is so simple. It's an all thread, 3 washers, the wrench that you'll use to tighten these 2 bolts with. And now you've got something. Now this isn't it. We're not done, but we're almost done. It's just one teeny tiny little clever improvement to this. Just wait for it. So I can move around. The camera's going to stay nice and steady. You can just see it, you know, whether you go down, whether you go up. And then, because it's right there where my fingers are, I can turn it. I can, you know, I can put my hand down here and kind of stabilize it. And it gives me stability. It gives me everything, except it's still too wobbly. It's like when I move my hands and carry it around, and this is what happens with all the gimbals out there. I decided that I didn't like holding my hand on this. I really wanted my hand, somehow or another, I wasn't sure how, to be here. I wanted to hold this. Let me get that out of the way. I wanted to be able to hold, when I put this in my hand like this, that's really what I want. I think, okay, now with my fingers and my hand on here, I can still kind of let it dangle, you know, with the weight and everything and keep everything nice and solid. But I'll be able to twist it and turn it and stabilize it as I'm running around. I can push it forward and backwards. Basically, instead of just having a handle back here where this floats perfectly steady, but, you know, and this is a gimbal-ish thing that I said, I really want it to just kind of float right here in my hand and then be able to turn it like this. And that is kind of what the really expensive gimbals do. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, how do I get something out here and keep it cheap and simple? And then if my arm and my wrist, what's that going to do? How do I do that? And this is what I did. Now, like I said, this is so simple. You're going to be disappointed probably when I show this to you. I changed the way I was holding it. The wrench itself has a little bend right here that kind of bends down. And I put that underneath my hand. And I take these two fingers and I grab it just like that. So now, these fingers that I'm not really using, this is kind of dangling right in my hand, just like I said I wanted it to in the first place. And it's almost balanced. I mean, there's nothing holding it there, it's just kind of sitting there. And now if I grab with this finger, okay, with these fingers alone, this camera is completely right. And with these fingers, I can turn it. I'm telling you, if you've never seen anybody else do this, yes, that's my innovation. Why? Because it works. So, you see what's happening? Now I can move this around and I can keep my fingers on it. And, you know, just like if I wanted to go forward, if I want to go backwards with it. A gimbal holding out here, you just cannot do that. You can't do it with one hand. So in a sense, since I'm dangling this whole thing from my hand and my fingers, I'm dangling it. My arm is the gimbal in a sense, right? Yeah, this is a little floppy. But I put my fingers out here on it, and now I can just a light touch of my fingers, I can control this, and then I can spin it. Now we're not talking, sure it'd be better and it'd be quieter and all that if I had little ball bearings and things like that. But guys, this is really simple. And what really makes this work is the size of this hole right here isn't tight. Okay, so this piece needs to be a little bit more customized. What if it kind of came down? Maybe it bent back up over the back side of your hand, and it's just a little special shape that's designed to hang from your fingers. And your hands are touching the thing, and you can have all kinds, without using your second hand, you can point up, down, left, right, you can spin it, you can just let the whole thing kind of dangle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this camera, I'm going to start recording with it here in a second, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But let me just finish this out for you and show you what I did to just kind of finish it off a little bit. I'm going to take this back off the top. I'm going to pull these back off. Now, first of all, just to dress it up a little bit, I took a block of wood. This is the actual piece of wood that I used. And I made this out of it. Now, this is very simple to do. This is not necessary, but if you want to try to tackle it, let me tell you how I did it. It's very easy. I cut this off to length, and you could just, you know, if you have a square stock of wood, if you had a round stock of wood, it's even better. I didn't. So that's what I'm going to show you. Then I drilled a hole. So that had a square block, it had a hole in it. I put that square block onto this all thread, okay? So imagine I had a hole there. I stuck it on there, and it was cut to length. So it was square, and it could spin, right? So it's on there. It's a square block. And you can even see I left a little bit of the squareness on the back edge. You see there? I just thought that kind of looked good. Now here's what I did. I went out and I got my belt sander. I have a handheld belt sander that you would, it goes around and round and round. It's about this long. I turned my belt sander upside down and I locked it in my vise. So I got a vise, I got my belt sander, it's turned upside down, the belt's spinning, and all you do is you take that square block on that post and you just set it straight down on that moving belt sander. And the belt sander will want to spin it. And you let it spin it, and based on how hard you push down or pull up, if you pull up it won't spin at all, if you push down all the way it won't spin at all. It'll just sand off, one of those flat spots all the way down to, down to the post. But if you hold it just right, that belt will want to go, it'll flip it, it'll keep going. I'm making the noise as you hit it. Well, if you do it just right, it'll turn it, but it won't quite turn it as fast as the belts. You get what's up top. So it turns it into a little upside down mini lathe. And I just, I did it kind of like, instead of perfectly straight like this, I just kind of did it, and I just went zzz, zzz, and go, and turn it, and it just wore the corners down and made this nice little piece. So I made that, and I did that. I'll show you. So here's the washer. Take another washer, and I slide it down here, and I can put this on here. Actually, yeah, put this on here, and look how pretty that looks, huh? Come on, that looks nice. You see what I'm saying? See how pretty this is getting? This goes down here. Now this gives me the opportunity to hold it and use my second hand for some additional stability. Of course, you can use anything for that. I just thought it looked pretty. Now, the next thing I did was, my wrench was a nice way to start, a nice place to start. But I decided to make my own handle as well. So my wrench, the reason it worked, it had a little bend in it. You see how a spoon has that little bend to it right there? So I took a spoon, this exact spoon as a matter of fact. Now you don't have to do all this. I just did this because I like doing it. I put it right up there. I drilled a hole right through here. Oh my God, I know you guys are going crazy trying to watch this video. I'm so sorry. I need a cameraman today. I drilled a hole in the spoon, and then I ground with a little Dremel. I just ground out the edges around it till there's nothing left but that little hoop. Once again, it just makes things look better, but it's not just looks better. Because it's so much smaller, it's so much thinner, my fingers can get closer to everything, and it makes it so much better. So you just drop it down on there. Now it's important. You do not want this tight. This has to have some give. It's important, okay? And then you slide I have 3 of them on here just because it's it creates more resistance. It's a little bit thicker, and I like the way it looks. So, tighten all this up by sliding it. And now you see it starts to look a little bit more elegant. I put my fingers, you see how it's looking now? And that tucks right underneath behind my hand. Look at that. And then, like this, and I can put my hand here, and hold everything and steady it. I can let go. It hangs, it spins. It's beautiful. Then I just put that on there. Now I'm going to turn this camera on. I'm going to hit record. Okay, we're recording. I think that you're still watching that other camera and you can see me. Okay, I just let it dangle off my hand, off my fingers. You see that? I'm just trying to show you every angle. I guess you can't see every angle, but it's just so comfortable in my hand. It just hangs there, and that, because it grabs off the back here, it just you can just tell it balances out. And then I put my fingers here, it steadies it a little bit. Now, so I get walking, let's say I want to go down through here. Now I'm using my second hand to keep it from flipping and flopping, because I can. You see what I'm saying? Meaning this. I got my hand here because I want to keep it steady from flipping. Why not? The camera's not on me. I've got a hand to do it. But if I want to turn it around and use my hand, see, this is about possibly video blogging now. It's a little bit shaky right now. And you can always edit in between those spins. You know, but at least you can get that spin really quick. So, hey, Jackson, what do you think? Oh, well, I don't know. Jackson's already gone. He took off. Puppy, what do you think, huh? Reaction shot. Puppy, what do you think? But as I'm turning, everything's kind of rock solid. The camera's not flipping and flopping. But I've got total control of it. I can let go and let it dangle a bit. I can move more quickly. You can see, boom, boom, boom. I can do this. Now I'm tilting it with my hand and holding it that way, but that's what gimbals do. When you turn it, they just start going like this, and then they go like back like this, and you'll see them like in videos where people don't know what they're doing with them because they're really hard. They just float around like that. Not mine. Steady, simple, just like that. It's not a perfect Steadicam, but it is simple. It is super cheap. It actually works pretty daggone good. It's super flexible, versatile. I said that about 8 times. All right, what'd you get?
It's just a birthday present for Aaron.
Your boyfriend?
Yeah.
I know it's been a while. Oh, Daisy! All right, guys, so that's it. I know I rambled and repeated myself a lot, but the idea is if you like it, if you haven't seen anything like it, if you want to copy it, if you have any ideas to make it better, and then, I don't know, in a week or two, if we can't think of something better, if I'm shooting some videos with it and it looks cool and people are asking, maybe I'll do a short, concise, little teeny how-to video, maybe put some plans together. Maybe somebody out there wants to put the plans together. I don't know, it really doesn't matter. I'm just kind of having fun.
Tube it. Everybody doing it. Off like a rocket, and now you can't stop it. Chad and Steve made us all believe. You can post a video, you can be the star. Millions might watch it, no matter who you are. Now the world will see it, and seeing is believing. Believe it or not, but you can bet we're never leaving. It's power to the people, cause I got the power. My 15 minutes just turned into an hour. Revolutions everywhere, I can smell the fear. Media moguls, look out, cause we're here. Changing the world in a whole new way. Everybody stand up and say.